This story right here, to me, is about the biggest difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys. What changed for the Cowboys over the last 5 years compared to that period from like 2012 to 2018? It's, it's not really the quarterback play. That's been about the same. The Eagles had Carson Wentz, and, he played really well actually for a couple of years, and then Nick Foles won them a Super Bowl, and now they have Jalen Hurts, who's, maybe playing a little bit better than those guys, but not much. And Dak's been improving, even though, fans' frustration is growing. He's a good quarterback. To me, it's what they did today with Lane Johnson that symbolizes the difference. Here's a guy, for them, 32 years old, still the best tackle in the NFL. Their center, 36 years old, maybe the best center in the NFL. The Cowboys, along this path where they had the best offensive line in 2016, they lost Doug Free, they lost Ron Leary. Those guys were getting old and one-hit free agency. But then Tyron Smith ages out due to injury pretty much from domination. And Travis Frederick gets that syndrome and then just retired. If you were able to stay healthy, you would have Travis Frederick and Tyron Smith and Zach Martin, and maybe you had just found Terrence Steele, right? And you would have four really, really good offensive linemen, but instead the Cowboys found bad luck. And I think they took a huge step in the right direction last year, finding Tyler Smith. I hated the pick at the beginning. I didn't like it even halfway through the season. I was like, this guy's getting ghosted way too much in pass sets. But towards the end of the year, he really impressed. And everybody that follows it closely with the film says he improved every week. So I'm happy about that. But I think the difference is how good that Eagles offensive line is. How could Dak only have 5 picks his rookie year but have 16 in just 13 games this year? It's the protection. And not only does it give them the best offensive line for pass pro, but also in the running game. If you want to get back to running the hell out of the football and having the ability to play turnover free for the most part, passing the ball, it all comes back to continuing to invest in that offensive line. We've made way too much about the skill players, in my opinion. We're talking about a tight end at 26. Hey, if there's no offensive lineman that makes sense, I will understand that. But you got to come out of this draft with a really, really good one in the first 2 rounds and then another guy to continue to add on to your depth. That is the path back to dominating this division. And hopefully it could come together right as their guys are starting to maybe age out or start get hurt themselves.
Boy, this is music to my ears. I think you win in the trenches. That is the key to success in football. And I think you're spot on. I mean, we always talk about receivers and the quarterback and the running back and, all the skill, the sexy positions. They're not going to succeed if you can't block, right? Yeah. Well, if you can't block, how are you going to give time for your quarterback to get those guys the ball at receiver?
The Eagles are 79-47 when Lane Johnson plays. He got a 1-year extension for $33 million. He's under contract through 2026. They're 13-22 when he's out. Okay. Yeah. The Cowboys have essentially been trying to compete missing Lane Johnson. You take Tyron Smith out, that's essentially what they're trying to pull off. Even though Lane's a right tackle, a lot of people think he's the best tackle in football.
I think the thing that should focus on even more is Mike Solari is your new offensive line coach.
Okay.
And I worry about that. I worry about Mike Solari wasn't even on an NFL staff last year.
How'd he get this job?
He's friends with Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy worked with him in San Francisco. Mike McCarthy knows. I mean, this is where you're at right now. You could have, I could say, I think the Eagles take a step back because they're having to replace coaches. To me, and Todd Archer and I have this discussion all the time. Other than the offense and defensive coordinator, your next most important coach is probably your offensive line coach.
Wow, that's strong. And we've seen the Cowboys really struggle over the years when they get it back, when they get it wrong.
Paul Alexander,
even Joe Philbin in 21.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and now you're thinking about, wow, really loved what I saw from Tyler Smith. Really loved what I saw from Terrence Steele. By the way, Terrence Steele, Duke Merriweather, right? Putting out clips about Steele working out and stuff like that, looking good, moving around and stuff. But that's the thing. You got young guys, these young tackles that actually developed a little bit under Joe Philbin.
Yeah.
And now you're going to say, nah, let's just scrap that.
Yeah.
We don't want to pay Joe Philbin $2 million to be a coach. So we go and get a guy who's been out of league that's friends with Mike McCarthy. Now, maybe this will work out. But I think I think every time the Cowboys have made a switch at the offensive line coach, it's been one of those things where, like, we're all going, what the hell happened?
It's been a big setback.
It has.
Yeah, and Hudson Hawk is not waiting in the wings anymore. He's no longer looking to jump out of retirement and bail you out. So you got to hope this Mike Solari is good. But personnel wise, you'll get Terrence Steele back. He's like half a good tackle if you ask me. You have Zach Martin, and then you have Biotish, who's pretty good. And then Tyler Smith, who's still coming into his own. Guys, I don't know what you expect the board to look like, but at 26, are there options for a step in and dominate type of left guard that could give this offensive line a serious facelift instantly?
There'll be three.
Yeah.
Three names.
Nice.
There'll be names.
Cyrus Torrance, the guard from Florida, might get there. Steve Avila, the guard from TCU, who I think that the Cowboys, they should know very well, being in their own backyard here from Fort Worth, and I think they'll be able to work him out if they want to. And then Cody Mauch from North Dakota State, I like quite a bit as well. Those are the three names that I would consider if they're on the board there at 26. I think those are plug-and-play options for you at left guard.
I love that. Okay, Lane Johnson, this guy hasn't given up a sack in 2 years. A streak he maintained during the playoffs despite playing with a torn hip ligament. So he actually has had some injuries, but he was just able to sustain a very high level of play. He is now 32 years old, though, and Kelsey is 36. The unfortunate reality of offensive line is sometimes they can do it to 38, 39.
Yeah.
So you might have like 2 or 3 more years of Kelsey and another 6 years of Johnson.
I always say this, and people laugh at it. I go, you learn how to hold, trip, and clip is what you do in your offensive line. And really, the more years you have, if you're not breaking down, you kind of figure out. And that's the thing with Kelsey. Kelsey's not going to sit there and overwhelm you with blowing you off the ball. He's going to play with position, athletic ability, know the tricks of the trade. No, the good ones can. That's what they do.